I'm going to go back to some of the basic stuff that I used to do to help out a lot of the beginners here, because I think Blender and Octane is a little bit overwhelming, especially as a beginner. And these little quick lessons that I used to do really helped me understand Blender and understand Octane and just understand the whole process of making 3D. So literally like taking a sphere, putting it on a plane, and just practicing some texture, making the sphere look old and scuffed up. But a lot of these principles are just basic stuff that you can actually, apply to later on in your 3D journey. You'll be like, hey, I know how to erode the edge, or I know how to make something look grungy and stuff like that. I really want this to be focused for those who are new. Some of the advanced guys in here might be like, but sorry guys, we just got so many new people who are new to Blender and Octane. I really want to help them out. So what I'm going to do here is quick, basic, simple scene. I'm just going to practice a little bit of grunging here. I'm going to take a UV sphere. I'm going to put a subdivision of 2 on it, and I press Control, Notepad 2. I'm going to right click, shade smooth. And then again, always practice working to real world scale. So this is going to be about the size of a ball. So something like that. And that's why I have Dennis here for reference, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you how I make an infinite background, or a cyc wall, what you call it in the theater world. I'm basically going to take this. I'm going to scale it out on the X just a little bit wider, apply the scale, and then I'm going to come over here, go to edge mode, and I'm going to grab this back piece, extrude Z, extrude it up like that. And then I'm going to grab this middle one, press Control B, and then I'm going to go ahead and then mouse wheel up, and you see I'm beveling the edge there. And I'm going to give it a lot of bit of shape there. There we go. Tab out, shade smooth. Now we've got this infinite cyc wall. Actually, we can probably grab this front here and go GY, pull that a little bit more forward, give us some more room. Tab out of that, and then apply the scale just for any type of, I always just apply the scale after I do things. All right, we're going to hide Dennis. I'm going to grab my sphere, and I'm going to go GZ and try to get it to sit on the plane. Now, if I also press GY, move it forward, like, especially with newbies, you'll struggle to try to get something to sit exactly on the surface. And I used to always just do this. Come underneath the surface, go GZ, and kind of just eyeball it like that. But here's an easier way. I'm going to go GZ, right? Here's an easier. If you come up here to your snapping tool, you go to snap, activate it, and then you click this tab right here next to it, snapping. You're going to say, I want to snap to faces. And it's going to basically go GZ. Okay, hang on. GZ. Boop. Oh, wrong thing. Just make sure we have just the sphere selected. And I'm going to go GZ. And boom, there it is. You can see how it's moving. It's snapping, and it's going to snap exactly to the surface there. So why am I doing that? And then I'm going to turn it off. Make sure you turn it off. So now it's exactly flush on that surface. It's a quick and easy way to do that. Now let's just jump into what I like to do is lighting and blocking out my camera. I'm going to get my camera kind of set up. I just kind of go into my viewport and kind of get where I want this to be. If you hit notepad, the period, it'll zoom in, and then I kind of back out. I kind of like where that's at. If you press Control Alt 0, that will snap the camera to the view, right? Well, I've actually changed that and mapped that to a button on my phone here. I'm using the micro deck, and I built a profile just for Blender, and I automatically have this as a 1-button click instead of having to press Control Shift 0 notepad, because I have to take my fingers off and go Control Pad 0 notepad. I built a button. I just press it and I just go like this. Boom. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Easy peasy. I have a post somewhere where I talked about this deck, and I'm building more apps. So if you got an old Android phone or own iPad laying around, you can actually turn it into like a stream deck. It's super useful, and I map a lot of crazy shortcuts. I map them to this, and I can literally just press it, 1-click button. So anyways, back on subject. Let's go ahead. I want to finish getting my camera somewhat into something that I like. I kind of like that. Let me shift up a little bit, maybe go something like that. That's cool. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my aspect ratio. I want to do an Instagram post, something like that. Okay, let's kind of size this up. Good. And I like that. Go ahead and unlock that so my camera doesn't move. I press Q. You're right here, lock camera to view. Again, that's a quick key because I use it all the time. So it's literally Q on my keyboard. And to get to that, if you come over here to end, if you go to camera to view right here, if you right click, you'll see it'll say add shortcuts, or right here, remove from quick favorites. Right now it's a quick favorite. So if I remove it, now if I press Q, we don't see it here, right? But if I come back over here, right click, add to quick favorites, boom. Now if I hit Q, there it is. So I can just quickly jump in and out of that, okay? Now next, once I get my camera blocked out and I've got my scene just heavily blocked out, I like to jump into lighting first. So what I'm gonna do is, again, recommending when you're new, just HDR light it. Like HDR lighting will help you get where you need to get. And right now, if you're using my startup file, you already have an HDRI ready to go, but I'm going to change it up just a little bit here. Again, if you're using the Blender Octane starter kit file, this is the setup that I've got here going, and it's really easy and understand. Here's your HDRI, here's your color environment, here's your backdrop. We're not going to see the backdrop because we're using the cyc wall, but I do want to change my HDRI, so I'm going to go ahead and change mine. That's kind of one of my favorites. All right, there's my arc workshop. Then I'm going to go ahead and just rotate this and get an interesting look. I like to get light either coming from the side or from behind it. I don't like coming at it dead front like this because look, it just looks so flat. I also have that mapped on my mouse. So I just literally hit this. You can see on my mouse, when I hit, it's actually doing the command because I have a programmable mouse. So I like to do shortcuts all the time. So boom, there it is. And you can see how flat this looks with the light coming straight on, right? Even my lighting here, I have it at a slight angle just so I can get some shadows here on my face. You can see this little, because if I have the light coming straight onto me, it's just very boring. It's something I learned from cinematography and stuff like that. So I like to rotate my light around until it's either coming from the side like this, or it's coming from that 3/4. Now the backdrop is blocking some of our light here. So we bear in mind that, but even like something like this, or I like to get the shadows aiming a little bit more towards it. And we're probably just going to light it from the side like this. I kind of like this. And you can see the shadows pointing that way. So we got the light coming from that way. That looks cool, right? But it's looking a little dim to me. I'm going to go ahead and go to the camera. I'm going to crank up the exposure a little bit, something more like that. Okay, cool. I like that. Now you can see my sphere is really not in focus. So let's go back to our camera, grab my camera, turn on my camera, and get the focal point set for our camera. Again, if you're new, go to camera displays, make sure you turn on limits. If you're using a starter kit file, it should be already set up for you. This allows us, if you tick on depth of field, tick this off, autofocus. Now I'm going to see our focal. You're going to see, actually, let me turn back on. We should see, let's bring this in closer. There it is. This is our focal point. So I like to go just till it disappears so I know it's in there. Now this is in focus, right? Boom. And I'm using a real camera lens here, so it's at a 50 millimeter. Let's push it. Let's go to maybe like a 85 mil. Now I'm gonna have to back my camera up, go back into my camera and back that up, something like that. And then I'm gonna have to readjust my focal point, kind of something like that. All right, I like that. Cool. Let's get into some shading really quickly here. What am I going for? What is? It's important to know what do you want? I want a painted sphere that has chrome underneath, paint on top, and like it's scratched up. And then when the scratches, we will be able to see the paint under, we'll be able to see the chrome underneath the paint. That's what I want, okay? Let's jump into this. I like to hide that again so I can just see what I'm working with. Let's add our base. First of all, how will we do in the real world? They will have the chrome underneath, right? So I'm actually gonna take this shader here. Let's just do, how can I do this the simplest way for you guys? Let's do this. Let's just start. Sometimes less thinking, more just doing. Grab a metallic material. I'm gonna plug that into there. Boom, there's our metallic material. And I like to use the GGX model, Energy Preserve model, and it gets super, right now it's so clean and it looks fake, right? So what I wanna do from here, add a little bit of roughness in there. Now, one other thing, hang on, let me back that down. One other thing I'm noticing is we changed our HDR, but you notice we don't see that change in our HDR because again, our backdrop HDR is different from our lighting HDRI. If I come back over to my world, remember we changed this to art workstation, right? So what I need to do is come down here to backdrop, pull that out, open this up and grab the art workstation. There it is. Now, what I wanted to do also, I wanted to match wherever the position is for the light HDRI up here. I want that position to also be represented in the backdrop down here. So what I do is I just grab this output right here, grab this output and just bring it down into this right here. Boom. So now whenever we move this, we move the backdrop and the light at the same time. See, there's our lighting coming directly behind the camera straight at it. And now we're moving it to the side there, right? From here, it looks like we got a lot of depth of field on that camera still. I want this sphere to be almost, that's gonna take this and double it, times 2, 8. Okay, good. So that was our base. We got our metallic underneath. On this metallic underneath here, let's give it even a little bit more texture. I want it to have some more texture. I want to give this a little bit more texture. So I'm going to come in here, add a noise texture, and I'm going to drag this noise texture into the roughness, right? And now this is adding a whole bunch of noise that is making it look like it's not even has any texture or any roughness on it. So what we could do, let's go ahead and add in a XY thing here. I'm going to solo this so I can see what color it is. I'm going to make it smaller. I want a smaller pattern. Like this is like a scratchy like little porous type of metal, right? Let's add a little bit of contrast in there. You can see that's doing that there, adding a little bit of contrast. You can play with this gamma here, right? This all has a different effect to it. And if you want more details in that, you can add a little bit more details in that. Again, this is going to affect the roughness tremendously. So there's what our roughness is looking like. So now I'm going to come in and play with it from this point of view. Kind of something like that. I like that. I'm going to plug this into the bump now. Come down here and plug that into the bump and see what that does. Woo! That's huge. We need to change that. That's a little bit too much. Now this is a good example. You get to see how this is affecting how it affected the roughness versus how it affected the bump. Totally different, right? So now if I zero this out, we're totally clean. Hold down shift and just add in a little bit of this in, right? Just want to add in a little bit of this there. And if I come back here and make this 0, you can see that bump is actually bumping to the point where it's affecting the roughness, where it actually looks like it's affecting the roughness. One other thing I could do to this is come in here, and sometimes I add in a color correction node. I like to type everything. I don't know where everything's at. I just type it. It's easier. A color correction node, and here we can play. It just gives us more options. We can probably play with the gamma. We can maybe even control a little bit using more. I just wanted to have a little bit of feel texture. Okay, good. That's our base layer, right? Why does it still feel like we're getting a lot of depth of field on it? Let me crank this up to 12. I think it has to do with the backdrop first too. Let me add a texture to the backdrop because it's really affecting the way I'm seeing this. I'm going to grab this backdrop. We're going to add in a new material. And what I'm going to do here, actually I should save. Let me go ahead and quickly save. Come into my asset browser. I'm going to go into School Material Database V6. I'm going to go to Utilities. And I want, actually I'm not going into Utilities, Tech. I think Miscellaneous. Yeah, Miscellaneous here. I want this procedural grid. I'm going to drag that over. Or actually, I'm just going to drag that onto this here. It's a material. I forgot. All right, and here's our procedural material. And there it is. And it's interesting that whenever I do that, like it gets some weird projection going on here. Let me see if I can fix that. Grab this, select this again, select all. How about just do a box projection? Yep, and then the box projection fix that, even though we do got a little bit of stretching here, but it's fine. It's better than how it was, right? Box projection there. Okay, cool. And I'm actually probably going to back this camera lens up. This camera focal length is bugging me here. Let's go back to maybe the 58 portrait lens. I think the camera's a little too low. GZ it up. Yeah, we were clipping into the bottom of the ground there. And I'm actually go GX. I'm kind of line it up with this material here. Or actually I can just do that and then maybe grab the material and slide it over. Or just grab the plane. GX, slide the plane over. Kind of just getting a nice little symmetrical line there. Okay, cool. I like that. And now we got to reset our focal length for the camera. Come here, grab my camera, grab that focal length, kind of just touching into there a little bit. Now let's click back on our cube or sphere. This is what we've got. Here's our base layer, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add in a mixed material. I'm going to do, there's many ways we can do this, but I want to do this way so I can show you just about basics of mixing materials, right? And the power of just mixing it. All right, so we got this, and then we're going to pop in let's do a universal material. Universal material, we're going to plug that into the second, right? Boom. Now I'm going to put this opposite contrasting color. I'm actually just going to use a color from my branding, whatever this one is. There it is. Okay, good. So we got this orange here, and then what I'm going to do is go GGX again, energy preserve on that. This is going to be our paint layer, right? Now, how do we scratch down to the paint layer? There's a lot of ways we can do it. There's actually, in the universal material, there is actually a material layering system here, but I just do it this way because this is how I used to do it in cycles, right? We need a mask. So what the first thing we're going to do, a black and white mask will work. Anything will work. You could just use, for example, a noise texture. We can just grab a noise texture, drop that on here, plug that into here, and then boom, that's going to color it. And let me crank up the contrast to like 10. And let's kind of just play with this here for a minute. And I'm actually going to crank the contrast up to 50. I want a nice hard edge there so you can see. Okay, there's what it's doing. Again, if we play with this, you can kind of see how it's being affected. All right, and that's just our black and white mask. There it is. And it's not even black and white. It's kind of gray, right? So that's why it kind of looks very hazy, right? So what you could do is come in here and add a gradient map and then clamp these values down, right? Like make the black even stronger so we get a nice hard edge, and even make the white even more pure white. So it's like really separating like pure white and black, kind of like a cow skin. Now, if we look at it, boom, that's how we can do that. Very basic. Now, if you really wanted to get more detailed with it, again, depending on your mask is going to dictate how it's going to look. So if I grab this out and reset this back, I'm going to go here and add in a grayscale image node. A grayscale image node. This is basically designed for black and white values. It saves memory on your GPU. I'm going to plug that into interpretation. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to load up a PNG map. Now, again, using the image maps, you're kind of limited to the quality of your maps. If they're 4K or 2K or 8K, but when you're using procedural, it's unlimited K. I like to say it's unlimited. Boom, and there it is. Now you can see our scratches being affected on this thing. This thing is all scratched up, and then we can see it into it, right? But again, to me, let's make sure we set this value to 1. And then again, we can come in here, look at our scratches, and we can start clamping these values again. And it's really nice with this too, because we can actually use this to really eliminate some of these scratches. See, if the more I clamp on it, the more we kind of pull away some of these here. And then also, if you grab this and turn this white, you can start to control how light and how dark these are. This just gives you a little bit more control, right? So again, you can flip that if you're going to do it into the bump. So if I come here and go like this, you can see I'm really, really, really clamping down on that and trying to minimize some of these that we actually see. Jump in here, and then boom, there we go. Now we've got some scratches. Now, on these scratches, if we look at them, they're kind of like, they just look like they're surface scratches, but it doesn't feel like they're digging into that. So what we could do, let's just take this whole section that we're working on here, bring it over more, give us some more space. I'm going to take this whole setup here, I'm going to duplicate it, I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm actually going to plug this into the bump, right? I'm going to grab this, go into the bump here, bump like that. Right now I'm going to reset this, and now you can see what's happening. Now we can actually see them kind of popping out a little bit, right? Again, we're using the bump, so it's a fake. It's not real geometry. Like if we were to use displacement, this is more faking it. And right now it's fine. It's getting the job done. But it's going out. Like if it's a scratch, it should be going in, correct? We're also seeing way more scratches than what's visible because I made a change to this, right? So let me go back and actually grab this one again. Come down here. Let's plug back into this one here and plug this back into here. All right. What we're going to do is flip this. Come in here and we're going to go flip. Okay. Now we're flipping it. Now we can see it's going down and inwards a little bit, right? But let me see here. It's still not showing the way I want it to be. Let me go back and flip it. Like I just want these guys to be kind of like flip. So there's another way we could possibly do this. Let me try. We can just probably go add an invert node. Let's see what that does. Invert texture node. Let's drop that into there and let's look what that looks like, right? All right, there it is. So I think really white should be going, white makes it go up, black makes it go, black conceals, white reveals, I think. Always forget. Trying to get the light to catch it just so we can see what's happening. There it is. I can see a little bit. I can't tell if it's going down or in. It looks like it might be. Hang on, let me just turn up the bump a little bit here. Let's go 0.1. All right, there it is. Now we can see, yeah, it's going down. Yeah, it's going down and into it. Yeah, it's going down. Okay, that looks good. So let's go back and view the whole thing now. All right, boom, there it is. That looks like it just looks like we've got a little bit more edge on that. Look at that. You can see it looks like there's actually a paint there, right? It feels like it's literally paint scuffing up on there, okay? So that feels a little bit better. I like the way that feels. So that's how we can make it scratchy. Let's just take it one extra step farther, right? Now, what I like to do is when I do this, I like to group these here. And I also have that mapped to my my phone here. Boom, one tap, it groups them, right? And I like it just helps you to keep things nice and organized as you build your file so you don't have to worry about it. And like literally we can just come in here, press in, and I would come over here and I'll say, scratches. If I ever come back to this file some other time, I know exactly what this node group is doing. You have these big node collections and you're like, what the heck is this doing? With everything labeled, I know that this is the scratches. I come over here, let me tap that. Based paint, right? And base, whatever. But you get the point, right? Just giving yourself something to, and you can come in here and change the color if you want, right? Or actually, I'll probably just go like, oh, actually, this is not the base. This is the metallic, sorry. Metallic. All right, there's a metallic underneath there. I'll also give this gray. I like to also keep things color coordinated. It just really helps me to visualize things really quick. So then I know that this is an orange paint right there. Right there, there's an orange paint, scratches paint. And then let's do one more. Let's do one more and just put like a layer of maybe some dirt on top of here, right? A little bit of like just some dirt on top of this paint, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is just add in another mixed layer, mixed material, drop that into there. And this time I'm going to grab here. I'm actually going to hit the second one. It's automatically going to bring in a diffuse material, which is nice. And that's exactly what I want. Okay. Now on this diffuse material, we need a mask, right? To make it look dirty or something like that. And luckily, also we have a nice little, let me just grab this top section here. Just grab this, shift duplicate it, and then I'm gonna bring it over here. And then if I press Alt P, it takes it out of the group. Let me go ahead and plug this into here, and we should be an exact replica. Okay, it is. Now we're just going to change this, and I'm going to go to dust. I got that. We got that. I'm going to reset this back to normal, and then I'm going to give this like a dusty colorish. Well, that's actually, let's see. Oh, let's, because it's orange. Dust will be like a light brown. I'm just going to go opposite. We'll go like this sooty color, right? Just so we can visually see it. And this is looking a little bit large. Well, actually, no, it's about the size of a ball. That thumbprint might be a little bit too big. So let's add this here, this UV transform, maybe something like that. And then I'm going to play with the mask here. Here's our mask. And again, I like to take this pure black and make it a little bit gray. This pure white, make it a little bit maybe off-white, because nothing's pure in real life. There is no pure white. Again, we can control how much of this we want to see or how strong we want this effect to be. Let's jump out and actually see it in motion here. Okay, I kind of like that, but now it's obviously way too much. So we can just grab this color and just bring it down to black. No, bring it up to white. Let's grab the other end. Let's grab the black and turn it to white. There's a way, and then I'm gonna just play from here, kind of get something that we like here. Actually, let me reset it one more time. Let me flip it. Okay, there we go. I'm kind of liking that a little bit. Let's see what that's looking like in the main view. And it's looking like a little bit stretched. Like it looks like it's being stretched on the X a little bit. Let me stretch it up a little bit there, just kind of fix that stretching. I'm not really liking this. Let me also, again, you can play with the power here and like control how much of this we really want to see. Just a little, just want it to be really subtle. Maybe something like that. But there. All right, let's quickly look here. I just wanted this to be 10 minutes and we're already at 30 minutes. Yeah, but let's go back and finish up housekeeping on our nodes here. So here's our second one. And boom, let me hit that and hit this and come in here and I'm going to say dust, dust. Boom, there's our dust layer and just kind of make it a little bit, dusty color. Something like that, right? There's our dust. So you can see basically what we did was we started off with our base color, our base metallic underneath. And then here we had our scratch color paint on top and then our layer of dust on top. And you can just keep layering these up, layering them up, layering them up, layering them up. And what I also could have did here, which I forgot, we could run this into the bump. Let's take this the exact same setup. Matter of fact, let me do this. I'm just going to grab this and add it into the bump. And then I think I need to invert it, add in another invert node, invert texture node. All right, and then let's add in a little bit bump on this. Let me go back to 0.1. Oh, there we go. I can see a little bit bumping off of there. Maybe even go 0.2, just exaggerate it just a little bit. Okay, cool. And now what I'm gonna do, shot-wise, camera-wise, I think we're good. Let's go back to the 85 mil now and see what it looks like if we bring that back to the 85. Let's go back to the 85. Kind of liking that. It looks like it's barely floating on the ground there. So again, I could just grab that, go GZ, and just go boop, like that. And then what I want to do is frame this shot up a little bit. Actually, we're pretty low to the ground. I think that's it. We're going to stop right there. Okay, I need to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and export this out. Go to my settings here. And 125, have a 500 samples. Yeah, this is probably good. I'm going to go 800 samples. Doesn't need to be a lot. Specular 8, diffuse 8. I mean, everything here is okay because there's not a lot going on. And let me quickly just save that. One thing I want to do, something I like to do preferentially, we could jump into our post-processing. Let me add a little bit more exposure. Let me get a little bit more light in this room, something like that. I'm watching my highlights here. They might be blowing out just a little bit. I can come here and go to highlight compression, save a little bit of that highlight, right? Like something like that. And then I can also jump into my post-processing and go to, I just want bloom. So there's bloom. I'm just adding in bloom, 50%. And there, I'm going to go maybe 1.5 on the cutoff, choke it down a little bit. Chromic aberration, just adding a little bit of chromic aberration. I actually go really hard, and then I like to just back it off just a little bit to get this edge down here, right here, just breaking up that a little bit and getting some weirdness happening there. Vignetting, we could add a little bit vignette. There's a little bit of camera vignette. That looks good. I like that look, the way that looks. I'm going to go about 5-ish right there. Okay, and then I'm going to add some compression or add some contrast. And I'm going to jump down all the way to my gamma and hold down shift, gamma down a little bit, gang and expose up a little bit, just adding a little bit of natural contrast in there, kind of just like that. And then I think we're good. I'm gonna go ahead and pop out of that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and jump out of that, hit that, and then save it and see what it looks like. And boom, it crashes. All right, and we're back, and it's rendering. Oh yeah, that chromic aberration way too much. Way too much. See how here it's pulling, it's distracting. The chromic aberration is not the star to show. The star to show is the fear and the distortion and all. Yeah, I got to take it down. Sorry, I got to take it down. It's too much. That's not the star of the show. Yeah, let's just divide that in half. Also, the bloom, divide that in half. Once you think you got it where you want, divide it in half. And let's go ahead and render again. All right, let me see now. All right, that feels better. We got just ever so slightly here, a little bit of chromic aberration. The bloom is backed off a little bit. I like where that's at. All right, guys, so I have to go through post-processing because I always do, and that's just part of my workflow. Like any render that I cook out, it doesn't matter. I always go to do a little bit of work in post because it always makes a difference. I'm going to copy this, boom, and then I'm going to right-click and make it a smart object, convert to smart object. Now, again, if you don't have Photoshop, you can use GIMP. I used to use Lightroom, the free mobile version, on my phone, and I used to bring all my stuff on my phone and then to do it in Lightroom, so you don't have to have all this, right? All right, so what I like to do first thing is jump into Camera Raw, which I used to use in Lightroom on the mobile. And the first thing I like to do is just see what the algorithm's going to give me. So I hit that. That's not too bad. It really doesn't really make it pop. I actually kind of like that. And then I'll come in here. I actually want to crush my blacks a little bit more. Like I like to crush my blacks heavy a little bit right there. And then what I also want to do is jump down into my sharpening. And I'm going to crank this up to like 100. And then I'm going to grab mask and hold down Alt. And it's going to show me where I'm going to be sharpening. And I want to just sharpen a little bit of, yeah, I actually want to there, just really bringing out the details of this. Really, I want to share the details on this sphere of the star of the show. And I like that where it's at. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, I do a lot of my color grading or stuff like that in my Dehancer plugin, which is a paid plugin that I use because it has old film looks, basically, all film emulation. So I have my favorites like this Coda Pantera 16.9, and then I also let me go down to my go-to. This is my go-to, pretty much this one here, or the Kamoka 50. I like the 50. 50's coming in a little bit dark today. It's looking a little dark. Let's see if I can bring up the exposure a little bit. Impact. Let's go to density, color density. Let's bring that up a little bit, get a little bit more dense in the color. Yeah, that's actually made. I like the film print a little bit better. Let's go to the Fuji. I like the Kodak print. That does bring things up a little bit. Here's my exposure and my tonal contrast, kind of like that. My color density, make that just pop a little bit more. Very subtle with it. And then we could analog range. I like the analog range better. This gives me that old school natural feel. And I'm not going to use any halation or anything like that. I like that where that's at. Before, after, before, after. I am killing a little bit of the noise, I notice. But that's okay. Check it out. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I don't like to use it full. And then what I do is come in here, since I made it a smart object, and we're going to come in here and I'm just going to bring this thing down to like maybe 25, 30, 40%. I don't want it at 100 because it's killing our detail with the dust. Maybe, yeah, something like that. I like that. So here's after, before, after, before, after. Just subtle. Boom. I like that. And then I'll go ahead and export that out, save for the web as a JPEG. Boom. And that's it. That's basically just a quick little thing here on how I would do a grunge on a sphere ball like that, how we can just take a basic sphere and change it up and grunge it. The whole point of this is just to show you, like, you don't have to make something crazy every single time. You can just do something very basic like this and still learn a lot. We learned a lot of techniques here on how to affect textures and make things look old. So this can be implemented onto anything. So file will be down there in the description, for members who are in the community. If you're not in the community, join the community and you get these perks like this. If you guys want to see more videos like this, you can join my Blender Octane School community and have access to the full 101 guide. For the next 7 days, I'll knock $10 off. Links down in the description. See you guys on the inside.